different types of anxiety disorders.
I don't love putting labels on folks, but for insurance purposes, if you're going to get, medication, or if you're going to get reimbursed for therapy through your insurance, you've got to have a diagnosis that's being treated. And so you're going to have diagnoses like generalized anxiety disorder, where there's just like a generalized sense of heightened anxiety that you go throughout life with. You're going to have panic disorder, where you have panic attacks, and then you have the loop of having anticipatory anxiety in regards to having a panic attack. And so you start having panic attacks about having panic attacks, essentially, is what's happening there. And then there's some other kind of niche anxiety disorders that are like health-related or phobic disorders, where you have intense or irrational fear around certain kinds of events, whether that's being bitten by a spider, or flying on an airplane and it crashing, or kind of other kinds of specific object, event, situation type fear or anxiety. But all of these are just descriptions of groups of symptoms, which is super important to understand. That's all the diagnosis is looking at a group of symptoms and putting a label on that group of symptoms. And the reason why that's important is it doesn't identify what the actual cause of the anxiety is. Like, the root cause of your anxiety can be multiple different things for generalized anxiety. So it's not like we can say you have generalized anxiety, therefore this is the cause, and we're going to treat that cause. Instead, what happens in most of mental health is there's a label for a group of symptoms, and then there's a treatment around reducing those symptoms. But the symptom management isn't actually addressing the root cause of what is generating the anxiety or triggering the anxiety to begin with. It's just managing the symptoms of the anxiety that's produced. And so a much better approach is not to get caught up in the labels for the groupings of symptoms, but instead to get curious about what is actually triggering the anxiety, what the root cause of the anxiety is, and address finding healing around those things so that the anxiety symptoms relieve, because their nervous system's no longer triggering anxiety, instead of just reducing symptoms around a nervous system that's continuing to be triggered by those root causes. So those are the different disorders and categories, labels for symptoms. But honestly, you should forget about all those labels and get curious about what's actually driving the anxiety to begin with. Thanks for hanging out with me, watching this video. If you've got questions, leave them in the comments. We'll make some more videos. And until next time, I want you to know that I'm praying for you and that I'm cheering you on as you mature into true happiness.